So years ago, I started writing for more of an institutional audience, so the first thing I wrote was an editorial in the FT about hedge fund fees. Now, hedge fund fees consume 80% of alpha, and I came up with this kind of thing as to how to make it more investor friendly, of which no one listened to it, and basically people went outside and continued to burn money for free for fun over the next 10 years. But then, just on our side, on the business side, I ended up really focusing on the wealth management space because we found that replication was the appeal of what we do is going to be very dependent upon the job of the person who's looking at it. And if the job of that person is to decide whether you guys, what combination of you guys and AQR and NHL, et cetera, then we don't really add much value to them. But in the wealth management space, particularly in the ETF world, where you've never had, what I would consider to be institutional quality products or things that kind of should make people's lives better, we get that opportunity. And I'm turning my attention back to the institutional space because I'll tell you some statistics. So, by the way, just by way of background, when people throw around data on the hedge fund world and hedge fund indices, the very, very best, most comprehensive data is published by a firm called Pivotal Path. John Kaplan started this firm, Pivotal Path, and Pivotal Path basically is not really a hedge fund database company. They work with global pension funds, family offices, etc., and they do all of this work for them to help them understand their underlying hedge fund investments. But what they do is they don't share information outside, but they have the very best information as to the holdings of these firms. So, for instance, in a normal hedge fund database, you won't see Citadel Wellington. You'll sometimes see Millennium, sometimes you don't see Millennium. You'll never see the firm that I work for, Baupost, right? So, hedge fund databases overall always have this incompleteness issue. So it's a long preamble of saying Pivotal Path has the best hedge fund data, and I'm going to tell you some hedge fund data. I think managed futures, institutional investors are ridiculously underinvested in managed futures, and I don't think people have looked at this data. So here are some stats. Out of the overall hedge fund space, the way Pivotal Path defines it, managed futures represent about 6% of the assets. Okay. Going back to the point about equity long short is 37% of the assets. And the multi-strat area, which we all hear about and everyone wants to throw money at multi-strat funds, is 20% of the space. Okay. Now, you can look at that data, and Pivotal Path's data gets excellent starting in September 2015, when they basically went live with all their data. Over that period of time, so we ran those numbers of those. So their managed futures category has 58 funds in it, whereas the SocGen CTA index has 20. So what that means is that they're talking to pension plans, family office, etc., and they're saying, hey, I've got all these guys, and all these guys are, not all in the SocGen CTA index. So when you look at the correlation of, let's take those three categories: managed futures, multi-strategy, and equity long short. Managed futures has a correlation to equities of 0. Multi-strategy has a correlation of 0.5. And equity long short and strategies have a correlation of 0.75. Okay. Then the whole